Hello guys, I promise I'm not filming today a scene from Twilight. This is actually a cool background that my gym has. Looks pretty sick, to be fair. I just found out about it today after 2 years of being a member. But anyway, before we start, please like and subscribe, because if you don't do it, I'm gonna get Edward Cullen from the forest and he's gonna come to your house, he's gonna attack you, okay? And the wolves as well. So, so just saying. Anyway guys, this video is going to be all about showing you different exercises that target your legs, yes, but the emphasis is going to be on the bunda, because everything is about the bunda, the dump truck, the booty, okay? So the first thing I want you to know is that you cannot just completely annihilate your quads, because the quads and your quads and your legs in general and your glutes are anatomically attached to each other, okay? So you're always going to target them a little bit unless you do completely isolation exercises, okay? And I will get to that in a moment. Now, I'm gonna go downstairs to the gym and I'm gonna show different variations of different exercises and how little things like adding little plates, boxes, changing the position of your feet, etc. can really make a difference when you're training and want to target your glutes specifically, okay? So that being said, let's go downstairs and I'll show you all the different variations. Okay, so the first exercise that I'm actually going to show you is the leg press. By the way, I'm so from yesterday's session, so I'm going to do my best and I'm going to try to do as light as I possibly can to demonstrate these exercises. But yes, just so you know, I'm literally suffering on the inside because I'm literally so from yesterday's leg session. Anyway, in terms of the leg press, obviously as the name says, it targets your legs, right? But there are some ways that you can do to really isolate your glutes instead. So just gonna show you now. It's really nice and simple. Who left it like that as well? By the way, someone left it misplaced. Never do that. Yeah, so that's what I mean. Okay, so if you look at the position of my feet right now, you can see that at the moment they're towards the bottom of the platform. The feet are basically shoulder width apart at the moment. And if I do the leg press this way, I will tend to target my quads more, okay? Little important thing, when you come up, always remember not to lock your knees, because otherwise you might damage your joints. So always maintain a slight bend over here, okay? But now, if I want to target my glutes instead, I want to place my feet as high on the platform as possible, as I possibly can. So really nice and simple. Same thing. The weight will basically, I'll be pushing through my heels as well, as high as possible on the platform. Go all the way down and up. Again, as you can see, I'm not locking my knees at the bottom. So literally it's that simple. Play with the position of your feet and it can make a massive difference when you're doing the leg press. On to the next exercise now. Okay, so for this exercise instead of split squat, everyone hates split squats. So this can really target your legs if you're doing it in a certain way. So apart from the fact that I've got the worst balance on earth, but normally what people do is they tend to stand upright and then descend down. And this way you'll tend to target your quads. So normally what you want to do is just lean forward, take a wider stance, okay? Leaning forward and just going down. But anyway, apart from this little cue that I give, I like to do a completely different variation for my split squats, and that involves the Smith machine, which is great for people that have terrible balance like me. So I'm going to show you the way I do it. I like to use a 2.5 plate, but you can use any plate you like as long as it's thin and it's not too thick, if it makes sense. And just place it forward. And then I also use a Bosu ball. The reason why I use a Bosu ball is because the elevation is much lower and that will allow you to target your glutes more. So what I normally do If I'm going heavier, by the way, and if you're worried that the Bosu ball is going to slide off, I usually place a 20 kilos plate just behind it, or I'll just place a bench, okay? So just nice and simple. So I want to place my toes on top of the plate so that all the weight is on my heel. And then in terms of my back foot, I just place it on top of the Bosu ball, and then I just descend, go through the full range of motion as long as I can, and then up. And honestly, if you try this version of the split squat with the Bosu ball, you will feel it so much more in your glutes. I normally do 20 each leg, 20 reps each leg, and then I go up in weight. And as I increase the weight, I also usually tend to add the bench just behind it, so that the Bosu ball doesn't slide off, because otherwise you'll have the full weight of your body there, basically. So we also have people that sometimes tell me, or some of my clients also tell me, that struggle with hip thrust, and sometimes they feel them more on the legs, in the legs rather than their glutes. So as I said before, these are all compound movements, so you will feel it a little bit on your hamstrings especially, but there are ways to target your glutes more, okay? So predominantly there should be glute focused exercises, but they will still target your legs. All compound movements, split squats, all the exercises I showed you before, basically they're all compound. Got something on my lips. So they will tend to target both your legs and your glutes at the same time. But obviously those exercises and those variations that I showed you before, they will tend to focus more on the glutes. So in terms of the hip thrust, the reason why people normally feel them on their legs more than their glutes is because of the stance, okay? So you want to make sure that at all times when you come up, so like this, okay, your shins are completely vertical. If they're not, for example, they're a bit further apart, like so, you'll tend to add a lot more pressure on your hamstrings. When this happens, it means that you need to bring your feet closer, okay? And that will make already a massive difference. Then another thing, sometimes people might say, oh, I actually feel hip thrust on my quads more. It's because actually your stance, your feet, again, are too close. So you see the distance is just so short that when I do a hip thrust, I feel it all in my quads. Again, you can see that my shins are not vertical anymore here. So what you have to do is just bring them forward a little bit, okay? And you already make a difference. It's literally as simple as that normally. Next exercise is the deadlift. So the first thing I want you to know is that actually people mistakenly think that the deadlift is one of the best glute building exercises along with squats. And don't get me wrong, deadlifts are good. They're great. They're great compound movement. However, deadlifts are not the best glute building exercises. And although people think that they really feel deadlifts when they squeeze at the top, yes, you will tend to feel the burn, or you'll feel your muscles contracting, but it's not the best exercise for your glutes. The best exercise for your glutes for me is hip thrust. Hence, I don't tend to include deadlifts too much on my programs. They will be there because they're a great compound movement that you should be doing, but if your goal is to grow your glutes, you should not be deadlifting all the time. So people also mistakenly think that by doing a sumo deadlift, okay, sumo means that your stance is so much wider with your feet slightly rotated outward. People mistakenly think that this will tend to target your glutes more than a conventional, for example. That's not the case. You get both. Studies actually show that you get both the same glute activation, both for sumos and conventional. The only thing that changes is it's basically the range of motion. The range of motion is a little bit more limited when you go through a sumo, and there is less less of your lower back activated. So if you're an individual, for example, that suffers from lower back problems, then it's better to use to prefer a sumo deadlift. Again, I'll show you the difference very quickly. So you want to start with your feet quite far apart from each other, toes pointing outward. Your grip is basically inside your your legs, it's not outside, okay? So inside, then you pull and down, okay? Very simple. For instead a stiff leg deadlift instead, which is what I prefer personally the most, the range of motion is much greater when it comes to a stiff leg deadlift. However, you'll tend to target your lower back a little bit more too. In terms of glute activation, again, they're both exactly the same. There is no, if you do sumos, it doesn't mean that you're going to target your glutes more. No, it's absolutely not that the case. If anything, you'll tend to target your adductors as well with that. So I told you the only difference between the two is basically the range of motion, and in one you're going to target your lower back more than the other. That's the only reason why I would recommend a sumo, but in terms of glute activation, studies show that there is the same glute activation, okay? So for the stiff instead, like your stance is much shorter, and obviously your hands, I like to have an inverted grip, but you can have the same grip if you prefer as well. It's completely up to you. And you go all the way down. Make sure that when you deadlift as well, and very important thing you need to keep in mind is to keep looking down throughout the whole movement. So you will see people doing this when they deadlift, and when it happens here, it's fine when you're not lifting a lot of weight, but when you start putting on a lot of weight and loading the plates there, you start hurting your cervical spine over here. So that's why it's important you keep looking down the whole time. But that being said, let me move on to another exercise that will tend to target another compound exercise, which is great, and how we can get it to target our glutes more. Let's go. Another great exercise is the squat, but I will be showing you variation that will target your glutes more. So obviously doing a full range of motion squat is great, is what we want, because it will help you with your core stability, and I do recommend doing full range of motion squats every now and again, okay? You do need compound exercises basically. But if you wanted to make it more glute focused, I actually add a bench. You can't even see the bench. But yeah, so a lot of people actually will disagree with me, and I have bodybuilders and guys generally saying, no, actually a full range of motion is better because you go through the full range of motion so you target your glutes more. Listen to me, honey. I'm the glute expert. And also I've been trying both of the variations for a couple of weeks. I experimented on myself and on clients and on different people that agree with me, saying that actually box squats, but I like to use a bench just for practicality, but you can use a box as well if you want to, are actually better in terms of glute engagement. When I do box squats, I can feel it so much more in my glutes rather than when I do normal full range of motion squats, if it makes sense. So listen, don't argue with me, okay? Another thing as well, there's actually research as well that backs this up, saying that doing box squats will target your glutes more. So can't argue with me, okay? You can't win. So just very nice and quick, I'm just going to show you like one set. I'm just literally just demonstrating it. So what you want to do is just lightly touching it, okay? Make sure you don't do this, because if you sit back and then you come back again, you basically add a lot of pressure to your lumbar spine, okay? So do not do that. Just maintain a neutral spine throughout the full movement. You can sit if you want, as long as you don't sit back, okay? Touch it and back again. So I saved this last bit for la creme de la creme. Well, the isolation movements. These movements will recruit your legs as little as possible, if not at all. compound, as we said, isolation, because they will isolate your glutes. I mean, like, you're not stupid. I know that you all know this already by now. But these are exercises that I will show you that I mentioned before upstairs in the twilight room. All you have to do is basically wear a resistance band and do them as a finisher or as part of your activation. Another important thing, a lot of people think that it's not necessary, but for me, I always love doing activation and slash warm up before my actual leg day, so that I can make sure that my glutes activate. Some people don't agree with that. They think you should go straight into the workout. For me, it's always worked this way, so I'll always say that basically. So I want to swap the resistance band because I can't tell you how sore I am from yesterday's session. Never mind. So I'm gonna use the wussy band. It's a bit lighter, this. So these are the kind of exercises that are just basically isolating your glutes. Fire hydrants, that if you watched my previous full leg workout, by the way, you know that I always include them. So fire hydrants, nice and simple. Okay. So with this kind of exercise, you can load a lot of weight just because of the nature of the exercise. Yes, we can put down dumbbells in here, but you won't be able to go heavy. So this is when you go high rep, okay? You want to do a lot of reps to exhaust your muscles. And then another great exercise is the banded monster walk. So just leaning forward, going from side to side, a great glute isolation. Again, you want to do things like 50 reps for this before you can actually start feeling it, because when you don't use a lot of load, a lot of weight, that's what you need to compensate with the amount of reps that you do. Then clamshells, just lean and literally like a clam, what you want to do here, I don't want to see any of this, okay? Your feet need to be together the whole time, glued together, okay? You're a clam, okay? Just imagine that you're a clam. Channel your inner clam in you. Okay, so the clams doesn't do this with the feet, okay? So nice and simple. Again, you want to do as many reps as possible. And if you wanted to add a little bit of weight just to make it harder as you get more advanced, I'll just grab a plate and literally hold it here. Actually, I'll just show you, wait. YouTube magic. Literally not at all. So you see what I'm doing here with the plate. Just place it here. You can go as heavy as you like. This is a 5 kilo plate, but you can also, I used in the past even 20 kilos, okay? And you just hold it with your palm, basically, with your hand. Okay, keep doing exactly the same movement. Also, in terms of the hip thrust, one thing that I actually thought about it right now, that I didn't mention before, is doing frog pumps. Frog pumps are actually great, and some people say that they tend to feel them more in their glutes, but that's absolutely subjective because some people, we are all genetically different. I always encourage every single person to try different variations of an exercise so that you can see what works well for you, because what works well for me might not be the same for you. So I urge you to actually try this variation as well. I'll just show you very quickly what the frog pump is. So like a frog, feet together, okay? And it's basically like a glute bridge, but with your feet together. So you put a weight, like here, like a dumbbell or anything, and you just thrust up. Using the same technique that I showed you before about the pelvis, like forming a scoop, so not completely straight, okay? So the range of motion is really limited, but it will burn. So for this, you want to do as many reps as you possibly can, okay? So anyway, guys, that's it for the video. I feel like I showed you all the most important exercises. One thing that I want you to know is that I also want you to include those compound exercises as exercises in your routine, because they're just as important. I know that if you're scared to grow your quads, but honestly, you will not grow your quads that much by doing those variations of exercises, okay? Or your legs in general. By all means, you can grow your glutes just by doing the last few isolation exercises that I showed you, but you'll have to do a lot of reps and a lot of sets of those. So conveniently, it's quicker and easier to also throw in those compound movements and get stronger overall. We just don't want to grow a bunda and that's it, you know what I mean? We also want to get stronger and feel good as well at the same time. So make sure you try those out and let me know if you find any difference, if you feel like you feel them more in your glutes, if you notice a difference at all. And as always, I always recommend, if you want a plan that actually works. Now I'm actually doing online coaching as well. So as well as my normal plans that I've always had on my website, those are $12.99 a month. You can also inquire through the same website, link in the description, where I actually prepare the plan just for you, tailored for you from scratch, okay? Have weekly check-ins and everything. We basically, you and me, just the two of us all the time, okay? So link in the description if you want to get a banging sick physique where I can basically assist you all the time, 24/7. Alternatively, you can also get my set plans, also amazing, that have already transformed thousands of women as well. So you literally have all the options from the, even if you have a limited budget, you can go for the set plans, or if you want to invest a little bit more in yourself, feel free to sign up for my online coaching and I'll get in touch personally with you. Anyway, thank you so much for watching today, guys. I hope you found this video useful and somehow you learned a little bit more with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time with another video.